Hi there, Jake here. We are now officially into October, often considered the scariest month of the year. And considering that this year is 2020, that means October is a little scarier than usual. And I want to talk about that. I want to talk about why I'm scared and how I'm working to deal with that feeling. So, here we go. I'm Jewish. I don't know how many of you already know that, and I don't know if this is universal since I've never really heard anyone talk about this, but for me, part of being Jewish means always feeling a little bit scared. Because I know it could happen. Because it's happened before. And so, when you see it happening again, even if it's not happening to you, it sets off all of these little alarm bells and red flags, and that's basically what I've been experiencing for the better part of the last 4 years. And I want to be clear here. I'm not trying to be hyperbolic or histrionic or acting out of panic. I'm trying to be descriptive and accurate in my language. So, when I say this, I want you to understand that it is not an exaggeration. Okay. Here it is. Donald J. Trump is a fascist. Again, this is not an exaggeration or a pejorative or an insult. This is not to say that he is simply an authoritarian or someone who commands a government to commit xenophobic acts of state violence. This is referring to the specific, literal, academic definition of fascism as palingenetic ultranationalism. Literally, this is an ideology where national identity is paramount, where one's nation is fated to reclaim some great destiny, and the only thing preventing that is an infestation of traitors and infiltrators that must be eliminated. Some of you might recall that I did a video on this topic last year, where I outlined not only the palingenetic ultranationalism definition, but also the 14 features of fascism as outlined by Umberto Eco, an academic who literally grew up under Mussolini's fascist regime and worked to identify the common traits of the many diverse forms of fascist movements. And here's the thing, any one of those traits could be an indicator of a possible fascist movement. And the more you check off the list, the more likely it is that you are looking at fascism in action. And Donald J. Trump hits every single one of them. It's all there. A cult of tradition, rejection of modernism, action for action's sake, disagreement is treason, fear of difference, appeals to social frustration, obsession with the plot, the enemy is both strong and weak, pacifism is trafficking with the enemy, contempt for the weak, everyone is trained to be a hero, machismo, selective populism, and newspeak. All of it. Right there. You just need to know what to look for. And that is the ideology that is currently commanding the executive branch of the United States government. And that is very, very scary. It's scary because we all remember how fascism nearly ate the world 70 years ago. It's scary because it's illogical, violent, contradictory, and inherently exclusionary in a way that necessitates constant conflict and chaos in order to maintain power. There is no resolution, only retribution. The world shrinks and shrinks and shrinks until everyone is an enemy, everything is a betrayal, and everyone must sacrifice their lives for a shifting ideology that exists only to justify that sacrifice. That's what fascism is. And unlike in World War II, when the Allied forces of the world came together to defeat the fascist armies of Italy and Germany, we can't rely on anyone else to save us this time. If fascism is allowed to secure its hold on the United States, then that means that the most powerful military force on the world, with bases across the globe, a massive nuclear armament, and a defense budget larger than the next 7 countries combined, will be under the control of fascists. And that should terrify the world. Even if we could rely on other countries to intervene, we would likely be seeing an international armed conflict, the likes of which we have not seen in our lifetimes, and most of us have been seeing international armed conflicts for the entirety of our lifetimes. And that's not the only reason that I'm scared. You see, if we are faced with the challenge of having to combat and dismantle a full-on fascist dictatorship, and note, I do not think that we are quite there yet because we do have a heavily decentralized government with multiple branches, but we are definitely getting way, way, way too close for comfort. Dealing with all of that armed conflict, or uprising, or whatever it may take, all of that takes time, and we are coming up on a deadline. For years now, we have been hearing climate scientists saying that we need to cut carbon emissions by about 45% by 2030, or else the damage to the environment becomes functionally irreversible. And, some have even pushed that date forward to 2020. Again, we might not actually be there yet, but we are definitely way, way, way too close for comfort. And here's one of the things about fascism. Between the rejection of modernism, disagreement being treason, and the obsession with a plot, they're not a huge fan of scientific consensus. We've definitely been seeing this in Trump's particular brand of American fascism, which not only has been dismissing climate change as a hoax, but has been actively rolling back environmental protections, pulling out of climate change negotiations, and actively working to rebuild industries that generate even more carbon emissions. It's really not good. And we're seeing the predicted effects of climate change being directly observed in real time, between the record-breaking global temperatures, droughts, forest fires, and extreme weather conditions. I didn't even realize that double hurricanes were a thing, and this is the same year that started with an entire continent on fire. And, I'm about to be a father. This is the world that my child will be born into. This is the world that they will have to grow up in, and navigate, and survive. And this is not the world I want for them. A world where fascists control the largest military on the planet and actively work to prevent any action to prevent the climate crisis that threatens to cause mass planetary extinctions. It's not a world that any of us should find acceptable. And if you say, hey, it's only 4 more years, remember, that's 4 more years of damage that we do not have time to fix. And we don't even know if it will only be 4 more years, because we've seen what happens in other countries where elections still happen, but the deck is so stacked that the winner is decided before the first vote is cast. And if your thought is that we're just one country and plenty of other nations contribute way more to carbon emissions, I will remind you that we are still that shining city on the hill. We set the example. We set the pace for others to follow. And a fascist leader who denies science is only going to empower other fascist leaders that deny science. Just look at Bolsonaro, who has not only been dubbed the Brazilian Trump, but has also been actively, deliberately, for over a year, letting the Amazon burn. And it's still burning. And the world shouldn't have to be this way. So yeah, I'm scared. But I'm also angry and frustrated and upset and anxious and a lot of the time just lost. So that brings me to the next part. How I'm choosing to deal with all this. This YouTube channel is about Power Rangers. Superheroes for kids television. It's about recapturing that joy, that feeling of empowerment from watching teenagers with attitude in brightly colored spandex. I mean, who didn't want to be a superhero? So, the way I see it, why shouldn't we be? Why can't we all be superheroes in this moment? I mean, when you think about it, what is a superhero, really? A superhero is someone who is scared, not for themselves, but for the world around them, and uses the power and resources that they have at their disposal to make a difference. They save the world. So, let's do that. Let's finally be the superheroes that we always wanted to be, and let's save the world. That is not to say that it will be easy, or that we just need to do one thing and the world will be saved forever. There will always be more work to do. There will always be more monsters. But if we don't take action here and now, then all those other fights, all those other opportunities to be heroes, they all disappear. It will be the end of the world. And again, when I say these things, I want to be specific. I believe, without hyperbole or exaggeration, that if we do not rise up and take action now, then we are looking at societal collapse on a global scale by the end of this century, accompanied by mass extinctions of species the world may never see again, possibly including humanity itself, and that even if we do manage to survive this, it will take centuries for us to recover from it, if we ever do. All I know is that I won't be around to see it, or my kid, or my grandkids. We'll see the collapse, but not the recovery. We'll see things fall. We won't see things rebuilt. Not in our lifetimes. So we've got to take action now. While we still can. While there's still time. As I'm writing this out, we have 30 days left. That's it. 30 days left until Election Day. No more. 30 days left to save the world. So, let's do it. Okay, so here's where we get into the meat of things. How do we save the world? Well, we start with getting rid of Trump. It doesn't end there, but it does start there. It might already be too late. He might have already damaged our electoral process beyond repair, but we need to believe that there's still a chance to save things if we're to have any hope of making a difference. We need to believe that it's not too late. Now, how do we accomplish that? Well, I can tell you some of the things that I've been doing. Make sure to register to vote. You can do that at vote.org. Share that information with people you know. Make sure that they're registered too. You can also do phone banking, where you actively make phone calls to inform people about the candidates and help get people the information that they need to cast their ballots. I do that through swingleft.org. It's a great organization that connects you to virtual events across the country so that you can help make a difference in swing states where your voice will have the greatest impact. You can also donate, not just to individual campaigns, but to charities as well. I just did a live stream for WeGotTheVote.org to help restore voting rights in Florida, but now that they're hitting their registration deadline, I'll be doing a new live stream for SpreadTheVote.org to get people voter IDs and help get them safely to the polls. Oh, and they also need people to work those polls, so you can volunteer at your local polling places as well. And you can raise awareness online. That's the whole reason that I'm making this video. And I'll probably be making more before all this is said and done. So please, share it if you can, and comment below with what you plan to do to help save the world. It could be anything, no matter how small. Let's save the world. And let's do it together. Let's all be superheroes. Let's all be Power Rangers. Together we are more. Hashtag save the world. Yeah, if we could get that hashtag going, that would be cool, but obviously not the most important thing to take away from all this. A lot of the time, we might be scared to talk about what we're actually scared of, because we don't want to look weak. But until we recognize why we're scared, we don't have any chance of overcoming it. No chance of fighting through it. No chance of becoming a hero. So yeah, I'm scared. You probably are too. So, what are you going to do about it?